All right, welcome to the Crow Discovery Project. I wanted to redo portions of the clip I did yesterday on the ISS fake job. Besides the fact that I kept using the word dissemble because we had been talking, or I had been talking with someone about an astronaut saying they were dissembling, and then instead of saying disassemble, I said dissemble through the whole clip, which is pretty bad considering what the word means. Not great. So for that alone, I would need to redo this, but there are other reasons. As I got into looking at this clip, it had occurred to me that the astronaut in question here may be upside down, and a lot of users brought up that they thought she was. In some cases, you can absolutely see that is what's going on in these ISS videos. Quite frequently, you can see the puffy faces, the kind of squinty eyes, and as the clip goes on, their faces look worse and worse. But here's a side-by-side. People can make that call on their own. The main point in taking apart this clip, besides the fact that I don't think there's anything from NASA that I haven't looked at that I can't show to have problems and be fraud, but the main problem with this clip is why would you go to such lengths to do such sneaky editing, add the edit in where there is actually no edit going on 3 times, the second edit in this clip being one of those times, and take so much effort to line it back up if you're not trying to hide anything. I would also point out that there is quite a bit of footage, and you can go look this up, of astronauts showing how water supposedly acts in space, how it sticks to their hands. And in this clip, we don't see any of that. What we see is the water flying away. And yeah, she describes where the water's going, but I mean, come on. Really? You can just fling water around up there? There's electronics, there's Lord knows what. It's all ridiculous. But anyhow, let's go through one more time and look at the edits that we did here that I took apart. I won't say disassemble, I'll say deconstruct. So as we deconstruct these edits, what we see is what I'm calling a flash edit occurs over 3 frames. It took a lot of effort to reline these shots each time to make it look like there was no edit involved. As I mentioned, sometimes these edits or what I call a conditioning edit. The second edit in this clip does this. There is actually no edit going on. I think this happens 2 or 3 times in the clip. And so why would you do this? Why are you using the flash to hide edits and then adding them in where there is no edit if it's not to condition you to just, for the people who are intelligent and paying attention, to be fooled into thinking, oh, there's no edit there, because they see the first one and say, wait a minute, that was edited. Then the second one, there is no edit. It's underhanded. And these flash edits are occurring very quickly over 3 frames. And as I mentioned in my last clip, anytime you're watching any movie and you see a scene put in front of you that lasts less than 3 seconds, what's going on there is the editor is taking advantage of the fact that your brain needs longer than 3 seconds to decide whether it likes it. And if your brain is presented over and over again with quick flashing edits like that occur in less than 3 seconds, it puts you in kind of a zone state. And there is a bit of that going on here. As you can see, they took a lot of effort to put an edit in and then try to make it look like there was no edit going on. And that sets aside the fact that you can hear the plane engine. Anyone who wants to can go grab this clip, and I have gone back through and jacked the volume up so that you can hear what I hear. But the funny thing is, if you go to other ISS footage, you don't hear that plane engine. So I mean, come on, really? They got a really loud hairdryer waiting for her in here. It really sounds like a plane engine. You can even hear at portions where the cuts are about to happen, where it sounds like the plane is revving down or revving up. But the overarching question here remains, why go to so much effort to do this kind of sly editing? Why wouldn't you just make a cut? And I would point out there were something like 15 edits over a roughly, I've forgotten, 3 minutes. It's around a 3-minute clip, I think, without the logos. Anyhow, here's the audio again, and since I'm taking the last clip down and replacing it with this one, you're looking at a stereo track of the audio from this clip. It's left and right, which looks top and bottom here. The bottom of each section that you can see here has a yellow band. Those are the lowest frequencies in the clip. And what you find is this is where the plane engine sound, of course, is in the lowest frequency. But what you find is that the music that they have laid over this in an uncut track to further make it look like there were no edits done to this clip is held at a very low frequency. I had to cut it very, very, very low to get below the bass. And even then, there is still some bass and drum left in. And also, her voice goes very low into this register. In my mind, that's just more effort to mask what's going on in the lower frequencies. So what I've done here is I've gone back and got in a different editor and really cranked up the volume of this audio clip a bit. So let me just back off here, and I'm going to let that run without my voice, and here it comes right there.
And I just do one. Hi there. I've had a lot.
So I didn't do the whole clip, of course, but I hope folks will go back and look. And again, there is nothing that I have scrutinized from NASA that isn't underhanded, fraud, lying, hiding, sneaky, tricky. It goes on and on. Just a day ago, another channel was posting that the outside hatch door on the ISS, they have footage of it looking like it's made out of flimsy tinfoil, for crying out loud. There is no reason for all this video to be sneaky, underhanded, and faked. And I can't tell you whether or not she's upside down. Portions of this video, it looks like she is. There is absolutely ISS footage where we have seen them hung upside down to make it look like they're in a weightless environment. But for those who have followed me, remember back to the comet when NASA told us all, or the European Space Agency and NASA told us they were landing on this comet, the Rosetta Philae mission. And when I started to do the research, I looked at my wife and said, what do you suppose the odds are that they couldn't resist making one of the views of the comet look like the Philae Island in Egypt? And lo and behold, it happened. And as we all know, the ISIS temple and all the other little games these guys constantly play, encoding the information they give us, is on this island. On top of that, I further mentioned to my wife, I would be willing to bet that the equipment fails relatively quickly, or even maybe will never work properly because they're lying. And sure enough, as soon as they landed on the thing, there was a whole story made up with, oh, we can't get enough light to the panels to make it work. It never ends. So for those of you that have a hard time with clips like this, I would ask you to go look at the work people have done. What NASA does is lie. They lie for a living. And I grabbed this because the other night I saw portions of Apollo 13 again. The reason I'm putting this up, when I was in the 90s and got my first robotic scope, we were told, hold your thumb at arm's length to cover the moon. That was what we were told back then. Not too long ago, I read, I think it was in Sky and Telescope, that we now use our pinky. Most people would think this isn't a big deal, but your thumb covers roughly 2 degrees of sky at arm's length. The moon is roughly half a degree wide. Your pinky covers roughly a single degree. So what's going on here? Here's Tom Hanks playing an astronaut in Apollo 13 using his thumb. There's the excerpt in the upper right, which they show in the movie, and I took the width of the moon and laid it over his thumb to show that in the movie they're pointing out to you that you are using your thumb at arm's length to cover 2 degrees of sky to cover an object that is only half a degree wide. And yet, as you can see in this image, what's going on? They're taking pains to show that the moon is the same size as his 2 degree wide thumb. The details of what is going on tell us so much. And there is, I maintain, not a single mission from NASA that is not basically fraud. In my estimation, their mission is to totally deceive you and to totally keep you from knowing what's above the blue sky you can see. I have said in endless interviews that in my view, space, this planet or this world have been misdescribed intentionally. And the reason I say that is because I have done so much research and spent so much time behind a telescope, and what I see and the conclusions that I draw conflict with NASA at almost every turn. And again, there is not a single mission we can look at from NASA that isn't fraught with problems, to include the recent Pluto mission, which I have clips up here showing. So there it is. I figured I'd redo the voiceover because so many people come here for the first time with maybe no background in this. Go out and look at the work people are doing. NASA is not what you think it is, man. Cheers.